Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the webinar that we will have today that lasts for an hour, Poultry Sector in the UAE, Challenges and Opportunities. The webinar is organized by the Agriculture Food Bureau of the Consulate General of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Dubai and the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Riyadh, in close cooperation with Dutch Poultry Center, Roots Animal Farming Services, and VIV MEA, the trade show in Abu Dhabi in particular. A warm welcome to all of you. We have a very interesting program that consists of two sessions. One session is all about the welcome address of His Excellency Mr. Saeed Al Ameri from the Abu Dhabi Agriculture and Food Safety Authority. Then we will have Mr. Emberts, Ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And then we move on to the panel discussion, where we will look into a lot of questions, which is all about optimizing production, not only in terms of volume, but very much so also in terms of quality and what is needed, particularly now when we are faced with so many challenges because of risks and incidents that have taken place. I would like to invite His Excellency Saeed Al-Bari Salem Al Ameri, Director General of the Abu Dhabi Agriculture and Food Safety Authority, to address the welcome speech to the audience.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. Dodi Emberts, if he's around, the Land Ambassador in Abu Dhabi, honored dignitaries, guests, and respected audience, good afternoon for all of you who are in the United Arab Emirates, and good morning to everybody that are maybe in other parts of the world. First, I really would like to thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for this initiative and the team members who have worked on this important initiative to discuss the challenges and the opportunities of UAE poultry sector. And I'm really looking forward to see the outcomes of this professional gathering that will benefit all the sector's stakeholders. Abu Dhabi Agriculture and Food Safety Authority is actually mandated by the government to achieve food security while ensuring that we are farming in a sustainable way. We have a high level of biosecurity and food safety, in addition to promoting and enabling investments in all the related industries. The Emirate of Abu Dhabi accounts for more than 80% of the entire UAE agricultural production, and this percentage applies on poultry sector as well. The poultry industry is definitely one of the most important and very promising sectors actually in the United Arab Emirates for the key role it plays in achieving food security and the contribution it makes to the economy. UAE have reached 20% self-sufficiency from poultry products. We definitely will work with our farmers and stakeholders to at least double this number in the near futures. As all of you know, UAE is a state of open economy and free trade. As a result, local poultry sector competes with imports of poultry products from across the globe, including fresh meat. It's not an easy goal to increase our poultry production and market it with a competitive prices, given the challenging weather conditions for production in the UAE at one side, while on the other side, low production costs in the exporting countries when compared to the United Arab Emirates. However, Abu Dhabi government is very serious about supporting the healthy and sustainable growth of the sector through many different initiatives. We continuously diagnose the sector with our stakeholders and address all the challenges that arise from time to time, including but not limited to high production and facility costs in the United Arab Emirates as we speak, availability and access to the right production inputs, technologies, equipments, practices, breeds, the right vaccine strains, veterinary services and products, all market-related challenges, any amendments or introduction of legislations in order to support the local production while we still maintain our international and regional trade commitments. We believe in and promote for introduction and adoption of cost-effective technologies by the private sector and farmers, as this is the cornerstone in enabling the local poultry sector to compete and grow. ADAFSA is currently transforming from existing subsidy programs to smart subsidy programs in order to drive the performance towards higher efficiency and production levels in the near future. As mentioned earlier, encouraging and enabling private sector and private sector investment is one of our main objectives. ADAFSA have recently announced first batch of private sector investments worth of 75 million dirhams just last week in the agriculture sector, including 1 billion worth investments in the pipeline towards the agriculture sector. Of course, we made available and facilitated for these investments, and this is a role that we seriously take to enable new agricultural projects in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, either in the production or in the activity along all the value chain of egg laying or meat production. Committed to our strategy aimed at realizing sustainable poultry sector and strengthening food security and safety systems, we are willing and we will cooperate with the private sector partners here who are attending the seminar today to support local production and stimulate the viable activity of the poultry sector. Our team will be delivering their best cooperation to make available any needed information that may support the purpose of this seminar. Before I conclude, I again express my wish to enhance the economic trade relations with the Netherlands in all aspects of agriculture and food, and utilize the know-how and technologies for a significant growth of the poultry industry in Dhabi and the U.A.E. Wish you all a successful seminar. Thank you very much.
His Excellency Said Al Amiri, thank you so much. Looking into the excellent state when it comes to quality of production already at the moment within Emirates, and at the same time, as you rightly say, how do we get local production accelerated? And that very much with all the parts of the supply chain involved is the topic for today. We are in Emirates, this is the region, and it makes very much sense since it's a session partly also organized by the Kingdom of the Netherlands, that I'm very happy to introduce to you the welcome address of His Excellency Mr. Lodi Emberts, Ambassador. We technically see not much happening at the moment. That's not so much a problem. It will come in most likely later. We'll see for that. The second session, ladies and gentlemen, is very much about trying to find ways within a short time frame. We have around 50 minutes to look into the key trends, what is happening, what are the risks involved, and how can we deal better with sudden happenings as we are in at the moment. We have in the panel very esteemed speakers that we are happy with. Let me start with Dr. Mohammed Azad, who is CEO at Azerbaijan Poultry LCC, and he specifically would like to address you with a presentation looking into certain risks involved as per your vision. Dr. Azad, please elaborate on the risks as you see them.
Okay, thank you, Rowan. Thank you for all. Good afternoon, everybody here at U.A.E. and Gulf area, and good morning for those based at Europe. In the beginning, I'd like to highlight two main points. The first point is the U.A.E. considered one of the highest country all over the world in chicken meat poultry consumption in the rate 46 kg for each individual per annum. The second point, the world before and after COVID-19 is different. That become now the global mega trend to achieve food security and medical service, and the importance and the application of this digitalization or information and communication technology become much higher than before. Let us go quickly, and I'll do my best to make it very short. And the risk identification in the beginning. After that, we will go to risk response. I can classify the risk for four main risks: operational, human resource, marketing, and finally, financial or economic. Let us start with the operational risk. Mostly it is related to logistic or closure or port, seaport and airport, or the restriction of the movement. So directly impairing the availability of raw material and the production imports. The second risk is human resource risk. As you know well, the manpower is a fundamental point or fundamental factor in poultry industry or poultry business. And unfortunately, application of the main precautionary measures in COVID-19, remote working or social distances, is unapplicable in poultry industry, which require physical attendance. On the other hand, any isolation or quarantine measure for positive or suspected case directly cause shortage or problem in manpower. The third risk is marketing risk. It's mostly related to the market volatility and the uncertainty in customer demand. For example, at the beginning of this pandemic, we're facing which is called the panic buying of the customers. There was also a sharp decline in HoReCa sector. Fourth risk is financial or economic risk, mostly related to the cash flow, the cash collection, requirement for high money liquidity or more cash to facing arranging extra stock from raw materials and the oil production input to keep as a strategic stock. The problem in cash flow also increase the probability of bad debts. As a professional practice, we have risk identification, risk assessment, and risk response. Let us go for risk response. To be honest and more fair. It's from the day one. It's fully supported. All these risk responses fully supported by governmental organizations, especially ADAFSA, to reach to the main goal and the main aim for this response to mitigate any bad impact for COVID-19 by flattening of the pandemic curve through application of high standard medical service to reach finally to V-shape or at least U-shape recovery curve instead of L-shape. For a response for operational risk, it is a part of preparedness and resilience plan through keeping business continuity plan through modification of our business and production plan to facing a high requirement and to achieve keeping strategic stock from the finished goods, which in our situation, frozen chicken. We apply full utilization of all our facilities, either storage facilities or production facilities. We try to keep approved 2 or 3 suppliers from each raw materials or each requirement. The response for HR or human resource, which is a fundamental factor in our industry, as I said, we improve the awareness of our staff about dangerous and about the precautionary measures of COVID-19 and the awareness of all these measures according to the latest recommendation from the Ministry of Health, make screening test, keeping as much as we can social distances. Generally, we implement biosafety and biosecurity and our private sterilization program along with national sterilization program. And we implement strictly FAO and WHO recommendation for all food and handler and retailers, which published at 7th of April 2020. The response for marketing rests by finding another channels, another solution like online trade, online sales, like home delivery. And during the period of panic buying, we arrange 2 or 3rd delivery for our product to the market to ensure availability of the chicken meat in the market all over the day. The response for last risk, which I mentioned, economic risk or financial risk, by daily monitoring of all financial transactions, we strictly implement the credit control policy. We manage the payment for all suppliers and determine short-term and long-term payment according to the period. That's all, and thank you.
Dr. Azad, thank you very much. You talk a lot about the various risks on the operational part, finance, marketing, HR, and at every step you look into how do we respond to it. The other panelists in this session are representing Dutch Poultry Center, 2 Dutch companies, because there's a lot of knowledge in the Netherlands and among Dutch companies to look into what can we now best do in the Middle East. To the audience, if you have questions, please use the Q&A button on your screen, write your question, and then we will try to combine the questions and plug them in to the respected panelists. I have a question first, Ernst K. from Marel Poultry Processing, to you, because we talk so much, as Dr. Azad does, on risk response. We talked about COVID-19 very clearly. There is a risk, we have to respond. How do you see it? Is it positive, negative, a threat, an opportunity? Please elaborate.
Good afternoon to you all. Thank you for inviting me in this webinar. My name is Ernst K. from Marel, as explained already. question is, what are the consequences of COVID for the poultry sector? It depends a little bit on which geographical area you are looking at, and it depends a little bit on which market you are serving. Worldwide, we see an increased demand in poultry processing equipment, since many of our customers are anticipating on an to be expected economical crisis. And during economical crisis, the habit is that people move away from red meat and fish, which is traditionally eaten more in restaurants, move to supermarkets where they are much more price-oriented buying and ultimately come into to poultry. Last quarter, we just finalized our financial overview. Was the best quarter ever we had in the history of our company. Again, poultry related. But I can imagine that at the moment you serve only the restaurants, that you have some difficulties with getting rid of your production volume. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ruan, you are frozen. Rune, I don't know if you hear me, but I think you have to dial in again because the screen is frozen, and after thank you, nothing else came along. Samar, maybe you can take over.
Okay, I hope you can hear me. I think it is a good time that we then will give the word to, I'm by the way the agricultural counselor of the Netherlands Embassy, and I think maybe this is a good time to give the floor to the ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands for his short introduction. Lodi, may I give you the floor?
Yes, you may, Eric. Can you hear me? Am I visible now?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah? Okay. First of all, Your Excellency, Mr. Saeed Al-Meri, my apologies for I was online, I was talking, but apparently no one could hear me. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for organizing this with us, and really we are very happy to be here. And I take the hand you reached out to us for working closer together with you. Happy to contribute. As you all know, the ties between the Netherlands and the U.A.E. are excellent. Long-standing relation, almost 50 years old, and a trade volume that's second to none in the MENA region with $8 billion per year. And believe me, more is to come, the best is yet to come, because the interest and focus in the U.A.E. on food security has massively gone up. And the U.A.E. and the Netherlands, we've decided to become best friends in this area. So this webinar is extremely timely, and I'm really looking forward to the outcome and the follow-up of this one. Before I dive into a little bit of the details, I'd like to mention COVID-19. It was already raised before. It's a problem that confronted all of us, that confronts all of us, because we're still in the middle of it, in fact, isn't it? And I want to use this opportunity to thank the U.A.E. for managing the crisis the way you've been doing it, for helping out, for reaching out to more than 70 countries. Great, really, really appreciate that very, very much. And I also thank you as someone who lives in the U.A.E. for looking after us very well. Particularly the food supply chain, it worked perfectly. There was never a disruption of any kind. That I'm saying as a consumer. As an ambassador of the Netherlands, I'm saying I'm really happy to see the food export from the Netherlands to the U.A.E. in the first few months increase with 30%. Also, that is good news for the Netherlands, I think. Now, as you all know, the Netherlands is the second largest exporter of agri-food worldwide. And our total volume is about $100 billion per year, 2019. Having said that, this is not a competition. Number one is the US, and we don't want to take the number one spot, but we really do take our position very seriously, and we do want to reach out. We want to reach out to nations, to countries, and contribute to finding solutions related to food production, healthy food, technology, R&D, logistics, etc. We want to share our know-how, share our experience, share our technology. That's our core interest at this moment. We want to share our vision of a circular approach to agriculture with our consumers, with consumer in mind and the environment in mind. Hence, we very much support the U.A.E's ambition to increase its own food production. We want to be part of that. We're talking about poultry today, but also in the bigger context, we want to be part of that. And we really would like the U.A.E, see the U.A.E use our experience, our efficient technology, and propagation materials we developed over the years. Now, we as the Netherlands, we are ready to team up. And then I believe that today's seminar is a very important step in the right direction. But we do not start from zero. The footprint of Dutch technology is absolutely there. It exists in the U.A.E, it exists in Saudi Arabia. And we have big players, key players from the Netherlands already very much involved in the sector. Think Marel Poultry, think Vencomatic, think Nucamel, MOBA, Hatchtech, Stork, Dorset, and many more, and many more to come. Today we talk about poultry, and we have something to offer there too. Think about hatchery equipment, think about poultry health, and think about poultry breeding. I hope you will learn a lot more about what the Netherlands can do for you today, what we can do together today, and this is something, reach out to us. Reach out to Erik and his team. Erik is in Riyadh, he is responsible for business development, agriculture in the region. Contact us, U.A.E companies, Dutch companies, if you believe that there's a market for you here, and there is a market, there are opportunities, do not hesitate to knock on our door if you think we can help you. Now, I was supposed to say a few things. You're not here to listen to me, so I'm happily stepping aside and leaving the floor for the organizers and the companies and the discussion to come. I wish you all a wonderful seminar. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
His Excellency, thank you very much for the welcome speech. Technical difficulties on my side. The question that I had very much, as you, Mr. Embrechts, introduced the Dutch companies very much on their expertise, a question I got from the audience is already about, okay, we have risks. We need to look into a better environment to produce more poultry meat. How can we do that? Is using compartmentalization, for instance, an idea? I would like you, Mr. Winfried van der Laar from Vencomatic, poultry specialist there, to give your idea on the concepts, because that's where you're very strong at with Vencomatic, on the concepts that we need in Middle East, for instance, at the moment, to tackle the risks that were outlined also by Dr. Azad.
Thank you, Rowan. I think especially the COVID crisis has showed us that we are very vulnerable, and that it's very important that we organize our poultry production in a very decent way. First of all, I want to mention that having your own parent stock is, I think, essential in this world where we have to deal with lockdowns and these kind of things, that we organize our supply chain in a very good way. And one of the things could be that at least that part of your production is covered by your own parent stock. I think this is very important, and we see a lot of problems in many countries in the last couple of months because there were no hatching eggs, for example. Another thing is, well, we are used to think big, bigger, biggest. If you look at the last decades in poultry industry, you notice that companies have become bigger and bigger, and they are transporting chicken all over the world, transporting chickens from country to country. And I think especially what we see nowadays is that's much more wise to scale down a little bit because, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you are a little bit smaller that you cannot produce chicken in a profitable way. So I think there are new ways, there are new technologies which can be used to have a very good poultry production, which is even competitive for the traditional poultry countries. And I think that can also be done in the Emirates. Okay.
Thank you, Winfried. That is very clear. When you look into the concepts that we can use for better production, we look into the quality, and that is one part. What is also very essential is cooperation among all the suppliers, among all the producers and the stakeholders within the supply chain. Dr. Jan Wolleswinkel, representing Dutch Poultry Center as the president, you have a lot of experience when it comes to uniting producers, uniting all the stakeholders and making a strong voice towards whoever needs to hear it. What is your advice for producers in Middle East when it comes to association of yourself to get better things done?
Well, cooperation is a very important point in this discussion. We have in the Netherlands a lot of experience in this. After the outbreak of avian influenza in 2003, our sector was in a very bad position. What we learned in those days was when you join together and you make one voice and you go to the government in that way, they listen. It's always difficult for governments to listen to 10 or 20 different voices. When you come together and you have a plan how to go on in the future, you make steps to make a better position. And I think after this COVID period, and when you want to increase or to let the food security grow, make one voice, join together, make a plan, and well, they will listen.
Dr. Wolleswinkel, thank you very much. Another element which is essential, also looking into the risks, again, Dr. Azad, as you outlined, is all about digitalization, innovation. There are a lot of questions already also among the audience. How can digitalization, innovation help a lot? First, I would like to ask you, Dr. Suhail Ahmed, CEO of Holding Arabian Farms, how you look into the essentials of digitalization to further strengthen your production.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Am I clear? Can you hear me? Right? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for having me here, and I hope and pray for the safety of one and all. For some of you who don't know us, Arabian Farms group of companies are well known for a wide range of Saha fresh eggs. Our premium products can be seen in almost all the retail chains in the market. We have recently bought over a small operation in Al Ain and leased about 8 million square feet of land to set up a greenfield broiler project to produce 6 billion kgs of chicken per year. That's going to be one of the state of the art, and we have a collaboration with Netherlands and some of the Dutch companies to buy the machinery as well. Many years of experience has taught us that there is absolutely no substitute for quality. And quality comes from mainly from three things, I believe: choosing the right technology, choosing the right partners, and of course having a great team to do that. We have just done that by choosing Morel Poultry, for example, one of our partners for the slaughterhouse and wastewater treatment, as well as our rendering plants. Talking of the current scenario and the question Burkilo asked, already a lot of that challenges have been covered by my colleague, Dr. Mohammad Izzat. I will concentrate a little bit only on the fact that, in my opinion, two things are very important moving forwards in the new normal in order to succeed in the business, any kind of business probably. So one is the government support, and the second was the business excellence. I would concentrate more on the business excellent part and increasing the efficiency levels of all our performance in every aspect of business. Government support, just to tell you briefly, over the last 5 years, the ground has been prepared in the UAE. A lot of smart initiatives have been taken into effect. If you see in the last 4 or 5 years, we have very ambitious plans of going absolutely paperless, as well as, you know, taking up a lot of smart initiatives. All of our online transactions are done very smoothly here. New applications are there, which makes life very easy in the UAE. Even licensing, import and export permits, as well as even small things like your vehicle registrations are now on in the applications and very easily done. In fact, all this has drastically helped us in preparation for the current scenario. The second thing I would like to add here from the government side is the food security initiatives. If you remember, some of you probably, that in the last 2-3 years, Her Excellency Madam Mariam, who is the Food Security Minister of UAE, has taken up relentlessly work towards setting up very good initiatives. Among them, they have described 5 pillars, 5 enablers, and 10 initiatives to support the industry. Most of it is emphasizing on the technology aspect. To sum it up, I would like to say that in moving forwards, we all have to, all business people and people who are managing companies have to take a very strong and hard look at all the operations within their organization and make them extremely efficient, lean, mean, and cut all the ways possible to move forwards, because that's the only way we are going to survive. And finally, I'm a big fan of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, and I absolutely agree with his saying that every challenge comes with an opportunity. So let's take this opportunity and move forwards, inshallah. Thank you, and open for the questions.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned very clearly, let's cut away all the obstacles, whatever is there, because it hinders, and the government has done already a lot. I get quite some questions from the audience, what further government support can do. I'll get back later to it. First, I would like to understand if we look into more efficiency and less risks. Winfried, a question to you again. What can we do within the production of broilers in itself to become more efficient, to have less risks, and particularly in the light of less logistics? Because in the situation as we have today, logistics typically is hindering a lot because we cannot move around so much.
Well, we have made a study recently, and we found out that about 25%, let's say about 10% of the cost price of a chicken is caused by transport. If you look at how much we are driving around with live chickens, with live day-old chicks, with the catching, unloading, loading, that's a huge amount of money. So if we could eliminate all live animal transports, that could make a saving of up to 20 cents per bird. And that's a huge amount of money. That's about the same amount of money what is the cost price difference in feed. So we think that if you can bring, for example, the hatchery towards the farm and also the processing plant, especially the slaughtery, not the further processing, but the slaughtery, if you can bring that to the farm, you could make considerable savings in especially the transport cost. And as you know, transport has also an influence on your quality, has an influence on biosecurity. So we can do a lot of things by just doing things differently as what everybody is doing. If you want to compete the Brazilians, if you want to compete with frozen chicken from the Brazilians, you have to do it differently. Because if you're gonna do it exactly the same as the Brazilians do, you will never succeed to compete with them.
Thank you, Winfried. Question to you, Ernst K. The processing plants at the production sites, is that a solution?
Yeah, yes, no. It starts to become a little bit an answer which I keep on repeating. The only way you can compete with the power coming from countries where they can produce broilers in a much cheaper way, because in some areas in the world, the food, which is a major cost element in growing a chicken, the food is growing around the corner. Think about Brazil, think about Poland, think about Ukraine. You can never compete with them. So the only way you can compete is bring a high quality product, fresh, to the market. But there is a weird situation in the Emirates where the shelf life for fresh meat is rather limited. I think 2, 3, 4 days, something like that, which is not helping the local producers. Because at the moment, we can supply systems. Some of our customers reach slaughtering day plus 11 days, food safe. But when you have to compete against frozen products with the fresh products, which you are only allowed to have a few days in the shop and then you have to take it back, again, that does not help. I hear different figures about local production. I hear figures changing between 20 and 40%, depending a little bit on which study you read. And in my opinion, it should be easier to elevate this figure to 60% of the total consumption in the Emirates. But then there should be some changes at government side by means of rules and regulation with regards to shelf life and fresh meat into the supermarket, how long they're allowed to stay there.
Ansgar, thank you. I get this question, I get two of them. They very much look into, okay, more fresh meat production, but in fact that market seems to be already saturated. Why should we produce more? Is there a trend that you see for the coming 3 to 5 years that consumption picks up tremendously, that we do not have a saturated market for local production?
Is that a question to me?
Yes.
Yeah. The development of the whole poultry market is, when you look around the globe, is rather standard. Everywhere when you look in the world market, producers started decades ago with whole chicken deep frozen, and all the markets in the world move at the end to more and more fresh meat. When you look nowadays in a supermarket in West Europe, you cannot see any frozen chicken. Everything is fresh. I'm talking about 99.9% fresh. I visit a lot of West European supermarkets together with customers from the Middle East, and always challenge them, please find me one frozen chicken in the supermarket, and most of the time they fail. That trend will happen in the Emirates as well. I'm sure that gradually the amount of fresh meat being consumed will increase, and the amount of frozen chicken will go down. So it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time before fresh products have taken over the market of frozen products.
Thank you. Then I get a few questions, and if that is okay with you, His Excellency, Mrs. Said Al Ameri, very much on, okay, increasing production, more integration at sites. What can we expect the coming year from the government to support these trends and desires to be more efficient?
Definitely, the market in the UAE is maybe not a typical market, I would say. We have a lot of workforces that are helping into the country, and usually the diet for these people who work in the UAE maybe is more price-oriented diet for them, and this is one of the main reasons why maybe there is a demand, and I think this demand will continue in the UAE as we have this demographics in the United Arab Emirates. Definitely the government have subsidies towards the farmers in Abu Dhabi. These subsidies have been there, and they are always revamped and fine-tuned to serve the end purpose of the local farms and growers, and of course at the end of the day, what the government have been doing to also assist into this. We know the biggest challenge always for any farmer is to sell. Selling is not an easy task. We have been sitting closely with our partners and all the retailers and finding ways to promote for locally produced products and give it more priority in terms of giving space, reducing the cost of goods sold when it comes with these retailers. All of these initiatives are really working and taking place in the background between the government and between the market. And hopefully in the coming near future, I would say, we will see an intervention also from the government to protect local production and to promote for local production. Yesterday or the day before yesterday, His Highness Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid have announced a new brand that is related with organic and or sustainable product, and of course all of this is to promote for the local production and give it more priority.
His Excellency, thank you very much for elaborating on this. That's very helpful for the audience, I'm sure. Looking into the production, as we see, concentrating a lot of production, there is also the question very much, of course, about the use of people in the farms. At the slaughtering plants, for instance, it's less and less easy to get people to work, and also now because of travel restrictions and so on, we get questions, okay, how are we going, if we combine a lot at certain plants, how are we going to guarantee the safety of the people working there? Winfried, how do you look into?
Well, also looking at people, we see catching birds, for example, is an issue which is becoming more and more a problem everywhere in this world. So we have to see how we can automate certain processes, how we can make it easier to work, so that we can also the people involved. I don't want to talk about the processing plant. I think that's more something of morale. But if you're looking at the farm level, we have to realize that we have to do things smarter and better than, and we have to use latest technology to do it with as little as possible people, because getting people is a big issue in many countries, and also I expect in the Middle East.
Ernst from Marel, what do you specifically do more and more to tackle the labor issue when it comes to processing plants?
It depends a little bit on the level of automation you can allow yourself. As Dr. Sohail said already, we are actually constructing a processing plant for Arabian farms. And there we have tried to achieve the ultimate automation level in order to be as little as possible depending on people, not only because of lack of manpower, but also because of the fact that human interference will create any consequence, positive or negative. How do you want to look to it, on the quality of your end product? But most of the time it's a negative influence when you allow people to touch the chicken, as we say.
Thank you. Another question I get from the audience, Very logic, of course, because we are in Middle East. Energy, water is a big challenge. Now, that has always been there. Within this webinar, we talk about accelerating production. Winfried, how within Vencomatic do you look into tackling the issues of using less water and less energy?
Well, we are developing systems. We're also looking at climate systems. And in the Netherlands, we had to recover heat because, well, energy and heating costs is a big issue in many countries in Northern Europe and, for example, Northern America. But if you turn the process around, you can also use the same technology to recover cold. And if you look at chicken houses, they are producing chickens producing heat. That's why we have to cool these houses. And normally we do that with very traditional systems, that is tunnel ventilation and pad cooling. But in fact, if you look at a house like that, you are losing a lot of water and a lot of energy to ventilate a house like that. And you can do it much more sensitive if you would reduce the amount of air which you are blowing through that air, through that house, and you can only recover the cold which is in the house, because normally a chicken house is colder than the outside. And if you can recover that cold, you can make a much more efficient ventilation system than what everybody is doing at this moment. So we have been doing trials in Australia with houses like that, and we were able to get about 80% less water usage for cooling in circumstances with this new technology. So I think that can also be very interesting for the Emirates.
Thank you. 80% less water usage for cooling. That sounds remarkable. Ernst from Marel, what percentage reduction would you propose within processing plants on behalf of Marel? What can be achieved?
Yeah, of course, water consumption is the responsibility of the customer. However, in our development sustainabilities, by using less water and less energy throughout production is high on our list. Some of our customers are able to reduce water consumption with about 50% by choosing the right technology. As an example, in your region, we are implementing at this moment a new processing plant in Salalah in Oman for a company called Asafa. Where we implement an aero scalder. A scalding is the water bath where you put the bird in to loosen the feathers in order to be able to get rid of the feathers. In that processing plant, we are implementing a scalder where we do not use water but humidified hot air, which saves in that machine 70% of the water and 50% of the energy. So we have all kinds of technology on board to satisfy our customers if they are in for reducing consumption of water and reducing consumption of energy.
Thank you, Ernst. Very clear answers when it comes to efficiency and the use of resources. Questions also popping in when it comes to quality. Very much for you. In fact, His Excellency, Mr. Saeed Al-Ameri, you tackled briefly on organic, specific niche segments of production. And the question is, how do you foresee, from a market share point of view, sustainable products, organic and so on, what will be their role in the retail? How important is it?
I think sustainable products and organic products is the new trend and will be the new trend in the market here in the United Arab Emirates and in the region. Basically, the consumers are becoming more, I would say, aware of the foods that they eat and what these foods and how these foods impact sustainability aspects. So I believe the demand, as the awareness goes high, the demand will go higher for these specific climate friendly and sustainably grown products will go higher. On the government side, we definitely, through our extension services, promote and will promote the best practices in the production cycle, and will ensure that we have all the inputs that are required for the production are sustainable and quality oriented at the end of the day.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're moving closely towards the end of the webinar. The key reason, I must say, why we are talking about risks, responding to risks, very much is because of the COVID-19 situation. A question that I think from my side is nice as a closing question to Dr. Ezzat is your vision on a potential COVID-20 or other risks that you foresee that we can already anticipate on now. Dr. Ezzat.
Yes, Juan. Please, shall you repeat the question again, because there's some echo in the voice. Juan?
Yes.
Shall I get the question again, because I faced some echo?
The question is from the audience, your vision on new risks, such as a COVID-20 or 21, for instance. How do you look into that, and how can we best anticipate already now on new incidents?
Well, thank you. It's a good question, and I think it's like multifactorial question. First of all, we have to ensure the correct and professional identification of the current risk and anticipate which will be in near and far future for this risk. As you know, well, poultry industry mostly depend on two aspects of prevention and protection. Protection by applying very comprehensive and very strict biosecurity program, and protection by vaccination program. So to avoid the expected risk from any outbreaks, any viral disease outbreaks affect poultry, and especially broiler, we have to implement this two main points: protection and prevention, management and good vaccination program. For maintaining and achieving the food security, which I said in the beginning, it is a global trend, it is a risk. Proudly, Al-Ashban Poultry, which is the highest integrated project in the U.A.E. and the highest, or the only integrated project in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, play a leading role for achieve and for realize the national food security. The integration had very important, can be elaborated in few points. The points of the first benefit of integration is increase the profitability and efficiencies for the production, and in the same term, it decrease the strength of any challenge, any risk we will face in the future, resulting from logistics, resulting from human resource, resulting from the market, and finally or eventually, integration ensure production of high quality and safe food. In our situation, chicken meat. Because in integrated project, we monitor all primary process, and the same term, we ensure availability of the fundamental source or the fundamental raw materials required for ensuring continuity for our operation. In our situation, feed and hatching egg. So a lot of our colleagues in our field facing a lot of issues during this period. Availability of hatching egg was imported from outside, so we ensure and work together under the guidance of ADAFSA to ensure availability of hatching egg for small sectors and our moderate sectors for broiler producers. And in the same term, arrange requirement from feed required for the poultry production. So I think in this situation, and if we make like short-term or long-term plan, we mitigate any anticipated risk in near future, inshallah.
Dr. Azad, thank you so much. We've come to the end of this webinar. Efficiency driven by integration, also physical integration, is very much the red line that I've heard along the way of this hour of the webinar, because when we get things together within the supply chain, we eliminate more risks. We make it easier to automate, to use less labor in the plants, and we can increase not only volume and also the quality very much, even if we, as we briefly did, tackled on niche products. We also looked, and I think that makes very well sense, into the better use of water and energy. Very much so. Also, the Dutch suppliers have a lot of experience, as they outlined, to tackle such issues. And I think all in all, we got quite a clear understanding, not because it's all new. We knew already that volume increase, quality increase is essential, but we've seen incidents that help us to accelerate. And we also see very clearly from the government, as per ADAFSA, that there is a lot of support now and towards the future to get things more integrated, to work more together. And I think that's very positive news. We have everybody on the table. We've had them today to get to such a statement. And I would like now to invite Dr. Mohammed Al-Dahiri, the chairman of Roots Animal Farming Services, to make the conclusion remarks of this webinar.
Thank you very much, Rowan. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. I am very pleased and honored to be part of this lively and timely webinar. We in the U.A.E, as His Excellency the Ambassador mentioned, as a consumer, we very much have chicken as part of our diet, and during this unfortunate pandemic, all of our local producers have made it upon themselves, have taken it upon themselves to ensure the availability of this very important product to us all as consumers. And this is in line with what our leadership has also promised when His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed said, "Don't you worry," and in Arabic, "La tshilun ham." This is something we, alhamdulillah, our industry lived up to that promise, and we would like that to continue. I am very pleased actually to see the ideas, looking forward for yes, we are analyzing the challenges. However, we're looking forward to the opportunities. And there were, during this webinar, lots of ideas and food for thought. I'm sure this is to be carried forward. And we in Roots are very much honored to being a common denominator. Hopefully we will try to facilitate as much as we can with the help of the such as ADAFSA, with the presence of, and this is basically proven by the presence of His Excellency Brother Saeed Al-Bahri with us today, and his thoughts and ideas forward. Likewise, I would like to thank His Excellency the Netherlands Ambassador, Mr. Embrich, for his presence and also support. It couldn't happen without our esteemed panelists. So thank you very much, Dr. Sahil. Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Izzat, locally. And of course, Wilfred, thank you very much. Ernest, thanks a lot. Everybody else who is part of this. You, Ruan, have been very instrumental in creating a lively discussion, so thank you very much. And of course, I don't want to forget those who were behind the scene. There is Samar from the Netherlands consulate, Anneke from Viv Middle East, and Karima from Roots Animal Farming Services. And last but not least, the audience, their present and their support. So thank you very much. Looking forward to seeing more events. I would say stay safe. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Mohammed Al-Daheri, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come indeed to the end of this webinar. It was the third in a series of food security in the UAE. Looking forward to seeing you again live at VIV Middle East Africa next year or at any other point in time. The questions that have been unanswered, please look into vivmia.nl, where you will find the contact details so that we can contact you with the speakers so that you can further elaborate on the questions, and then we can ensure that you will get an answer. Thank you so much. Enjoy the day ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
All the best for all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, all. It was quite good, I think.
Thank you.